Hello crafty friends, this is the Paper Chef here. In today's Brother ScanNCut Tips and Tricks tutorial, you are going to learn how to change the cut area on your ScanNCut SDX125. You will also learn how to use the auto layout so that you can make your shapes fit into the cut area. The project that we'll be creating is this little box here. We're decorating a little box that's an existing little box, and I'm going to show you how to create all the shapes to cut out the little box. Stick around to the end of this video, because at the end of this video I'm going to show you how to assemble these boxes that come flat when they're shipped, and I'm going to also show you what's inside this box that I'm giving to a special friend very shortly. These boxes are called the Love You Always Treat Box, Food Safe Boxes by Stampin Up. The paper we're going to be using is called the Flowering Cactus Designer Series paper from the Flowering Cactus product medley. The coordinating colors are Pear Pizzazz, Mint Macron, Mossy Meadow, Highland Heather, that's this one, and of course you can see some Calypso Coral inside these flowers there. The Calypso Coral and the Whisper White, of course, are basic white, or just a white color is also a coordinating color. 48 sheets come in a pack, and it's part of a product medley, meaning you get it originally with the medley, and then you can get refills for the medley. This is a brand new product, and it's part of our, I like this piece here because it coordinates with the dies. It's part of our 2000, I'm trying to think of the year. How could I forget the year? Don't laugh at me, crafty friends. All right, it's part of the 2021 mini catalog, January to June 2021, and this is the product medley. Okay, a product medley is something that comes with the stamps and the dies and the designer series paper embellishments. Like we get these felt embellishments and some twine, and then you can buy the refills for the product medley. There'll be a link to download this entire catalog in the description of this video, and they're the Love You Always Treat boxes, part of the Love You Always Suite. It's a really wonderful catalog, and if you're in the US, I'm willing to mail this to you as well. All right, let's just jump right in here. We're going to put this paper on the mat, and then we're going to load the mat, but then we're going to get back to changing the cutting area in a little bit. I have to get to the settings after I change my angle. So when you're doing something like this, let's see. I'm going to see what I think. I've already cut a lot of these pieces out, so maybe I just want to cut one more. Let's see. I'm just picking one of the patterns. I wouldn't really use this one for the boxes because this one goes so well with the dies. Okay, and so you don't want to use those. This one's good to use because it's cute for boxes. This one's cute for boxes. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do this one. Anything with a small pattern, and I'm going to go ahead and put it into the upper left part of my mat. Usually the right side's a little bit more sticky, but just because I think it's just easier to teach cut area by showing how to resize it to the upper left corner. Now I tend to, my mat, I mean sometimes it comes up on the corner. I'm just going to put a little piece of painter's tape over there. And you might be saying, Paper Chef, you always tell me not to cover these registration marks. That's true. If we were doing scanning and cutting, we would never want to cover the registration marks. But we're cutting shapes that are built into the machine, so we can actually cover the registration marks. Okay, now that we have that loaded, or it's not loaded, it's ready to be loaded. Sometimes I have to hold it with two hands. I'm just going to go up and show you where you would load it. And I do have to change my camera angle. So sometimes I have to hold it like this while it's loading. And I'll show you the load button, and then we'll get started into the actual settings of your machine. I have to be careful not to change my camera angle too quickly, because if I do, I tend to accidentally cut off my video, requiring me to do editing, which I don't want to have to do a lot of editing. Okay, first things first. So I'm going to show you to change. Well, first things first. Let's go back to this. Let's load the mat. Then that's out of the way, and I don't have to sit there and hold it and try to keep it from falling down. I'm going to hit this button here to load the mat. I'm going to hold both hands and make sure the rollers catch it. It did. Hallelujah. Okay, it caught my mat. I like when it catches my mat without me having to do any trickery. All right, so now the first things first is, because I have viewers from all over in different countries, but in the US we tend to work in inches. But let's go to the setting here, and I want you to put your machine, if you're in the millimeters, if you're in the metric, if your machine's in metric, change your settings to inches so that you can follow along and try this with your designer series paper, because we sell this designer series paper around the world. And that way you can get the exact measurements as me, and you can decorate your little tiny treat boxes the same exact way without having to do any thinking, because I've already done all the experimentation for you. It took me a while to get these just right. And you might think, well, how hard is it to measure the side of a box? It's not that. It's not just about measuring the side of the box. I wanted to make sure all of my shapes, here, I have to show you this so you know what I mean by experimentation. I wanted to make sure all my shapes fit into a 6x6 piece of paper. I hope you're following along. And that I also have extra little pieces left over, maybe for some tag treats. Like, I'll show you the tag treats I make all the time. Let me find one of them. See, here's a little tag treat. Happy looks good on you. This is one of the sentiments from the Flowering Cactus. See, I wanted to have little pieces left over I can make tag treats with. I wanted to have all these shapes fit into this 6x6 paper. So that's why it took a bit of experimenting. But now that it's done, I set up a template and I can use it over and over again. All right, so we set it to inches. That's the first thing. Let's not change the cutting area yet. This is where you change the cut area, but let's not do that yet, because I want you to see how important it is to do that, or how useful it is to do that later after we get to that. So let's just start with, let's get our shapes we need. And I'm going to go to pattern, and there's all these shapes, there's all these icons. I'm going to select the first one, which is shapes. I should say there's all these icons. I'm going to select the first icon, which is shapes, and I'm going to select a square. Now, even though I want all rectangles, all these are rectangles, I can use this rectangle down here, but I just tend to use the square. And then I change this button here, because the square makes the length and width stay in proportion. But if I click this button here, the length and width change independently of each other. And that's what I want. So my height is going to be 3.94. And these are just measurements that give me a nice little white space around. When I put these on the box, I get a nice little white space around the box, which is nice, by 2.58. All of these measurements will be in the description. So the first time you watch this video, maybe just follow along. And if you watch it again, maybe you can follow along slowly and type these measurements in. Okay, so don't worry if you're not catching the exact measurements. We're going to go ahead and add we're going to add pattern. Again, that shape. Again, square, not in proportion. 3.94 is correct, because we want the same height, but this time I want 1.42 inches. These are the sides of our box. I already showed you the box because I wanted to make sure you had the big picture. 1.42. And we want 2 of those because these are going to go on the side of the boxes. Okay, the first shape was for the top of the box. 2 of those. And now we want to add 2 shapes for the other side of the box, this little part. Okay, we're going to go add pattern. I'm going to do this one faster. Square. Okay, and this one is 2.5. Just 2.5. Yeah. All right. As you hold it, it goes. See how the numbers change faster as you hold it? Hold the button, and then the little beep sound. You can turn off the audible sounds in your settings, but I like the audible sounds to let me know it's beeping. And that's 2.5 by 1.31. Sometimes I want things just a smidgen smaller or bigger, so like that's why you'll see me using such precise measurements. I think they came out perfect when I was said and done. So 1.31, and I want 2 of those. Okay, so here's the deal. You're like, Paper Chef, that's not going to fit on your 6x6. So first thing I want you to do, what I want you to teach you, is something called the auto layout. Before we even get into the whole cutting area, I want you to understand this concept. Here's the auto layout. When you click on this, it's going to take these shapes and it's going to put them on the mat most efficiently. The most efficient way. Okay? Because in order to save paper, it tries to save you paper. Okay, let's use the auto layout. Okay, the first auto layout takes them and moves them in both, it'll rotate them or at any angle, and it makes them most efficient to be put on the mat where you save the most paper. The next option makes them all go either up or down, and the third option makes them all face upright, the way that you put them into the settings. I mean, exactly the way you put them in. So if you had a triangle, that makes more sense. that you want it pointing upright. That's real important if you're making a stencil or something. All right, so why did I show you that? Because that's the auto layout. I wanted you to understand auto layout now before we change the cutting area. So let's click OK and get out of here. Now we're going to go to this setting here. We're going to go to setting, and we're going to change the cut area now. And we're going to make it now 6 by 6 around. You can't get it exact sometimes, but it's better to be a little bit over than under, because it always likes to have a little margin anyway. So see, that's about right, 6.1. You get the idea. I want this to be my cutting area. Why is that important? Because now when I go to auto layout, click OK, look at all these shapes hanging off the mat. They won't cut into the area that I'm trying to cut. I'm trying to cut 6 by 6 paper. Now when I use auto layout, it's going to fit them into this area here. Okay, so I'm going to click auto layout, and I'm going to click the first option, which lets them rotate the way it needs to. Perfect, I love it. Now click OK, click OK, click cut, and it's going to go ahead and cut those. So I'll just let it roll, and I will, just explain why I didn't just use my little stylus to move those. Okay, so I'm just also trying to concentrate by, like, I tend to just rub my paper a little. Don't get your finger caught under that blade holder. But I do tend to rub my paper so it doesn't move. Okay, if you're using a blade depth, well, I better wait till it stops making noise before I tell you this. I don't want you to miss anything. All right, so a couple things. If you're using this machine here is using what's called an auto blade technology. That's an auto blade. You don't have to set a blade depth at all, because it's just automatically detects the blade depth you need. That's auto blade, because I'm using an SDX model. If you're using a CM model and you have to set the blade depth, then you want to use a blade depth of 3 for Designer Series paper by Stampin' Up. All right, it brings me to this point. A couple points I want to make here. So let's just go back for a second. And why didn't I just, you're like, Paper Chef, why didn't I just, and I can go into edit, why didn't I just move them all around and rotate them and make them fit there myself? I could have got them all to fit in this area. Okay, well, because I like when it does it efficiently for me using the auto layout, because when you use the auto layout, let's click on that one again, it puts them in the most efficient manner where it saves paper. Okay, so it also uses what's called a pattern interval. And this is a pattern interval set to 1, meaning a small pattern interval, meaning there's not a lot of space between each one. I have perfect little strips that are the same height. I can use these little scraps for other things. When I put my little paper puzzles together, or like sort of embellishments and things, I can use these, like I said, on the tag treats, because they're already 3/4 of an inch almost. I mean, close enough, right? They'd be good to wrap my little tag treats in. I just have all this extra. It's more efficient to do it this way. Okay, so now we use the auto layout, so you understand that, hopefully. And you can give that a try with whichever kind of boxes you make. Now we'll click OK. Oh no, we're not going to click OK now. We're going to click Save. Because the whole reason we did this, let's face it, is so we can use this over and over again, right? That's the whole reason we do all this work. The first time it's a lot of work, but I've already made loads of these. You'll see them in different stages of completion, although only one is completed. So let's click on Save, and we're going to save it. These are the 3 places to save it. I know right now my machine is full. So when I click on this save, it's going to ask me to delete something in order to save it, but that's fine. You could also save it to a USB stick, which I don't have connected. You could put loads of these on there, or you could save it to Canvas Workspace. I get asked all the time why I don't always use that one. Even though I'm connected wirelessly, if I save it to Canvas Workspace, I can only retrieve the last file I worked on, and that's not going to work for me. I like to retrieve files when I need them, and that's why I like to retrieve them right off my machine. It's just asking me to delete something, so we're going to just go back there and delete my other template, just to make room. Just don't worry, you probably wouldn't have had to do that. So back to this. This is where you would be. You're trying to save it to your machine. You click on machine, and it's saving. It just saves it to your machine. I just happen to need some room. It made it number 166. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. So you come along. I'll show you how to get this off the mat in a minute, but while I'm on this screen, I want to show you something. You come along the next day, and you're like, oh boy, I want to make like 10 more of these boxes, right? Let's decorate some boxes. And you're like, oh, I have a template on my machine. How do I get to it? So you turn on your machine, and you're going to get to it by going to Retrieve Data, and you're going to click on this one. This is where you're retrieving it from. This means from the computer, USB cable, USB stick, Canvas Workspace. But again, you're only retrieving the last one you worked on if you're using that one. Or you want to do this one, the one we just saved it to the machine. And there are all the files, and we're going to jump to the end. You could go page by page to jump, or you could just jump to the end by clicking that little fast forward. And there's the number, file 166. There it is, and you can cut to your heart's content, cut out a bunch more, and the pattern area is still set. So it's only going to cut in this area. Even if I try to put something over here, even if I move a shape off of this area, it's still not going to cut there because the machine right now is only set to cut in the 6x6 area that we indicated. So it will not accidentally cut in any other area. So this is a great technique for when you're mass producing things and you just want to keep putting your paper in the same place and do that. All right, so let's now unload the mat, and I'll show you how to get these shapes off the mat, and then I'll show you the project. And I'll show you the ones that are, and I'll show you how to assemble a box like I promised. All right, so we're going to take the tape off, and we're going to peel this designer series paper off. Again, keep your little scraps because you can do so much with them. And the fact that they're all the same size just really makes them nice for layering for cards and for projects. Okay, and I'm going to use my little spatula if it's really sticky. And if it's not really sticky, you can use your spatula if it's sticky. If your mat's sticky, if your mat is not very sticky, or in this case it's okay, stickiness, you can kind of tilt it and see how they come off really easily that way. Because the paper is double-sided, you have loads and loads of options for decorating. So here's a bunch of little pieces, and I'm just going to show you how to put a piece on here. With this one's halfway, this one's partially done. So here's a piece. You're going to face it upright, and I like how the box is open when you put this on here. Meaning, I think it's easier to put on when the box is like open like that. Okay, I'm going to take my Stampin' Seal. Let me change my camera angle. Please keep recording. Please keep recording. Sometimes I accidentally, like this is not my first try today, just put it that way. Sometimes I accidentally stop recording. Okay, so click, I'm just going to use the Seal Plus. It's called Seal Plus. It's rolling adhesive. You can use glue. You can use little sticker machines. You can use tear and tape, any kind of rolling adhesive. So I put a couple lines of that on there. And then I'm just going to, I like how it's open because it makes me be able to put these on there precisely using two hands. And I can center them perfectly. And that brings me to why I changed my measurements a little bit, why I did so much experimenting. And I like the way there's a little white margin around the sides of the box. And I also liked the fact that I could fit them all in a 6x6 paper. When I tried to make these shapes go all the way out to the edge of this box, I didn't have any border and it wasn't as cute, but also I couldn't fit them all on this paper. It went off a little bit because when I made all the shapes go right to the edge. Okay, so now let's take it, before I show you, let's just have that to look at. That's kind of fun. It's on a wobble. I'll put the wobbles in the description. Okay, before I show you what's in that box, let's get some that are in the various stages of completion. I started putting these on. These are okay to put on when they're flat. I just think that these ones are easier to put on when it's not flat. But the only thing about putting these on when it's flat is that you got to make sure the pattern goes the right way, because when you assemble it, it's going to be upside down the way you're thinking. So they come shipped flat like this. Okay, so here's some that I've just been putting little pieces together on. So I'll be making a bunch of these. Okay, now, see, here's a one I started to decorate with a cactus. Cacti, singular. Let's get some room here. And now I'm going to show you, when you get these out of the box, these Love You Always treat boxes, how they come. They come like this. They're safe, they're flat. This one's pretty shiny, and this one's kind of dull, meaning you can stamp on this one. This is the wrap for the outside. This one is food safe, so it's white, it's kind of shiny. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to fold along all the score lines in the directions I'm showing you, where these little flaps are going to go opposite like that. All the others are going to kind of point to the inside like that. Actually, like that. You're pointing them to the inside, but the little flaps are going opposite. Like that. Now for this one, for this is going to be, they give you an extra line in the box, which makes the box really sturdy. And although I've shown you how to make boxes on this channel using the Template Maker website, so be sure to check that out. You can make any custom sized box you want. I just like these because they're made of cardstock, they're really sturdy, and they're already made for me. So I'm going to use what I can do. I try to make things simple I try to keep my life simple. All right, so, but I also need to make custom boxes sometimes. So I'm going to hold the box together on the side and now push the sides over. I'm getting this out of the way at the top, and I'm pushing the sides in like that. Push the flaps on the side, put the top in. Now we're going to go like this. Okay, and now that's that flap that was out of the way. We'll push that in there. Hear that little sound? It kind of clicks in there. That's the bottom. And then of course you just pop this open, stamp it or whatever. You can decorate it while it's flat if you want, but I tend to open it up and decorate this one. Like again, while I have my hands free, so I can get right in there and hold on to the sides. Okay, I've already decorated parts of these, a lot of the parts of these, and I've decorated with other kinds of paper. I've also made wraps where, oh, that was the other thing I wanted to mention, is that normally what I've been doing with these boxes, I've made so many of these already, is I used designer series paper and I wrapped around them. But I needed 9 inches of paper for that, and it wasn't going to work for me. That's where I came up with this other method for this project. That's why I came up with this idea of measuring these exactly so that I didn't have to worry about doing a whole wrap. Oh, these are so cute. Okay, so now what's inside the box? So first of all, I used every part of the suite to make this. Every part of the suite, meaning I used the stamp set. Life can get kind of prickly because this is a friend who's leaving. She works with my husband, and she's going to be leaving that job. So I thought, you know, as she looks for other employment and stuff, like well, she has sort of other employment, but you know what I mean. But it's changing job titles. Let's put it that way. Life can get kind of prickly, and not going to be full time anymore. So like it's going to be a different kind of job. So I just thought, you know, we're gonna have a special dinner for her. And anyway, so I'm using every part of the suite to make this, and I just thought life is kind of prickly with the cactus wobbling, you know, and I just thought it was a cute idea for that. And then I always try to match the colors as much as I can when I put treats inside. Ooh, I just thought of something. I could probably decorate the insides of these boxes too. No, you know what? I probably won't because it slides so much back and forth. I put some mini Tic Tacs in there because there was some green in there. Little Godiva chocolate, some green lip balm. I have every color of lip balm. I always have it to match my projects. A green Ghirardelli square, some green tea, and then I put a Kmart gift card in the very bottom. That's not green, but they didn't have a green one. I tried to get a green one. They only had the Christmas looking one. All right, so anyway, that's what's in the box. There's just to show you what you can fit a lot of stuff in this box. That's kind of the point of that. It's so you can keep that twine. What I love about it is you can keep the twine on there, and you can slide the box, and the twine stays tied and pretty, and the box is reusable and regiftable, which is always a good thing. So I hope you enjoyed these tips and tricks on how to use your ScanNCut to create lots of shapes to cover your Love You Always treat boxes, but more importantly, to apply the concepts of changing the cutting area and using auto layout to get the most out of your designer series paper for whichever projects you happen to be working on. That's all for now. This is the Papered Chef. See you next time.